Not many people know what's changed in the NHS since its launch back in 1948. So in this video, we're going to try and explain some of that in just 3 minutes. Let's get started. The National Health Service was born on the 5th of July 1948, revolutionising healthcare in Britain. The NHS was founded upon the idea that good healthcare should be available to all, regardless of wealth. Now, let's meet George, a 13-year-old boy in the early 50s. He comes from a working class background and unfortunately is suffering from a severe kidney infection. It's hard to imagine what it was like for people without the NHS, but pre-1948, George's family wouldn't have been able to afford the hospital service charges, and ultimately, he wouldn't have survived his infection. Thankfully, because of the NHS, George is admitted to hospital, treated with antibiotics, and makes a full recovery. Let's fast forward to 1983, during Thatcher's time in power. Along came the Griffiths report, which suggested that the NHS had no clear lines of authority. This led to non-clinical managers running hospitals and introduced the beginnings of the bureaucracy we see in today's NHS. Thatcher also initiated privatisation within the NHS. This began with the outsourcing of cleaning services to the private sector to cut costs. Traditionally, cleaners were seen as members of the ward team, whose reassuring presence improved patients' well-being. This disappeared once the tight schedules of competitive contract cleaning took over, leading to a weakening of the public sector ethos of the NHS. Then Labour came into power, rolling out one very controversial policy: the Private Finance Initiatives, or PFIs. These are deals where private companies fund the building of hospitals. In return, they receive repayments from the hospitals over the course of 30 years or so. But there's a catch. These PFI schemes have very high interest rates, and repayments far exceed the costs of the projects themselves. Let's take Barts, for example. Under this scheme, they received £1.1 billion to modernise their hospitals. The final cost of this loan will be £7 billion, giving private loan providers a tasty profit and leaving the trust in crippling debt. In May 2015, Barts was rated inadequate. Their work-related stress rates are one of the highest in the country, as the trust is understaffed. This is because PFI repayments come out of hospital budgets, so they divert money away from Barts, leading to redundancies and reductions in beds. Moving on to the present NHS, the product of the Health and Social Care Act 2012. A lot of damaging structural reorganisation took place. We won't go into too much detail, but let's meet Sonia. She's been recently diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. Before 2012, Sonia's Primary Care Trust, PCT, had clearly defined responsibilities for the commissioning of cancer services in her local area. One population was served, there was one budget, and a single streamlined cancer pathway existed. Fast forward to 2016. PCTs are gone, replaced by clinical commissioning groups, CCGs, and that very same budget is now dispersed across several different organisations that commission different things, and it's very hard to keep track of who's buying what. On top of all this Act abolished the Health Secretary's duty to secure and provide a comprehensive healthcare service. As a result of this, no one's accountable for the oversight of the patient care pathway as a whole. It's inevitable that patients, like Sonia, will fall through the cracks, unnoticed. With different lead commissioners for breast screening and surgical treatment, confusion over commissioner responsibilities, and a lack of training, handovers of care are getting delayed. Patients are waiting even longer for life-saving treatment, and thousands are dying early because of this poor NHS service. The UK has the worst cancer survival rates in Western Europe. 9 in 10 CCGs are failing cancer patients. Without clarification of the commissioners' roles and responsibilities, and an accountable overseeing body, patients will continue being lost in transition. The future of the NHS is uncertain, but in the words of its founder, the NHS will last as long as there are folk left with the faith to fight for it.
Save our NHS! 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 Save our